Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. This is the third take, and as I pressed the button, the gentleman from next door decided to start to practice his hoops, but I'm gonna forge forth anyway, because take 3, and if my podcast is going to take 3 takes every time, might just change the name to Take 3. Who knows? But without any further ado, let's get going. I hope you're all well. I am. Seems like Melbourne has turned a corner in the weather department. Maybe, maybe not. There's a little saying here in Melbourne that says, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Whew. And that is so true. Anyway, I was umming and ahhing whether to do this, because it is, compared to all the other podcasts that are online, this is really, really very an amateur podcast. And I was sitting watching an Arnon Carlos tutorial, or on a Wednesday they're doing a sit and knit for a bit, and they explained a genre of movie making called dogma style of filming, which I immediately ran and went and looked up. But basically what it was handheld camera, no editing. In 1995, a Danish director called Lars von Trier presented a manifesto that would explain what dogma was, and basically it was filmed on location with a handheld camera, no editing, no sound effects, or basically just as is. For example, if I had to drop something now, that would just be part of the whole thing. And I wanted to thank you, Arnon and Carlos, for that, because it's given me the confidence to just go, this is what it is. I hope I'm entertaining and informative, and we'll just take it from there. And I'm going to try my best not to say without much ado. I'm going to talk about what I finished, and I will introduce you to a book, one that I listen to and one that I use a lot. And the first book, the audio book, is very relevant to the first 2 projects I'm going to show you. So I'll tell you about the book first. It was a book that I found on my YouTube channel. It just kind of appeared. It was called Unfuck Yourself by, what was his name? Oh dear. Gary John Bishop was his name, and it was read by him as well. And it was 3.5 hours, and I was the Albini Cardigan was the one that I was really trying to finish. So I thought, I'll listen to the book. And it was like a gift. He explained that there were 3 things that jumped out at me. The fact that willing to do something and unwilling to do something were both had a positive outcome. And if you think about that a little bit, you'll understand. And then the other thing that he went on about was that if you really, 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 really want to do something, it's important that you apply yourself to the task relentlessly. And in my head, I always had relentless as quite a negative word. But now, after I've listened to his book, I really do believe that following your dream, or following a task, or relentlessly, is what actually brings it to fruition. He used Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example, which I think is actually quite a good example. But relentless now is going to become my word, as well as willing and unwilling. So now that you know, I'm going to talk to you about what I finished. I did finish the Albini Cardigan, and if you remember correctly, it was this, the picture isn't so good. Where are the nice pictures? There we go. That's a better image. Albini Cardigan by Tetbesh Knitwear, Orlane Souche, or Souche, I don't know, but I did finish it, and I'm so happy with it. Here it is in all its splendor. I have worn it once. We had some really nice cold weather, and if you watched my first podcast, you'll remember that I was going on about this stitch marker that I was using, and the color of that stitch marker. I've left it in the cardigan just so I remember to mention it, and I did eventually use it, and I'm so happy I did. First of all, I just put it on the inside of the pockets, but unless I walked around having my cardigan open, you wouldn't ever have seen that. And I'm not a huge fan of symmetry. So what I did was I decided to make the button band, to pick up the color just in the button band and the buttons. And I like that. And then on the other side are the buttonholes, and there I didn't want to use the same, do the color on that side as well. And then there was this cardigan has got this really sweet little detail here that I quite like a lot. And I tried to do that in the mustard, and just everything started to look a little bit matchy, too much matchy. I think just the detail by itself is enough. Over there and over there, it's not necessary still to make it another color. But what I did want to do was, I thought, I will certainly bring that out in the collar. And I picked up and I cast on whatever needs to be done here with the collar, and I knitted one row, and then I swapped over to the main color, and it just, you only saw it when I moved my head, but I really liked the idea of doing that. So what I did was I went back and I used a crochet hook, and I just hooked up the yarn from the back to the front, and that made a really nice detail. I like that detail around the neckline. What else did I do? I fell in love with the way she does the collar. Now, those of you who knit will know this problem. It's a problem that most knitters have, and if you have other ways of solving this, I would love to know. But generally, when you do a collar, you'll have a straight line up here and a right angle here, and it always looks messy, always. Whether you have the button band going up to the top, or whether you have the button band knitted out, or whether you have the button band knitted on, this little area here is always messy, and it's right there when you wear it. It's right there, so it always looks messy. But I love the way she's done the collar here with short row shaping, and I have to tell you, this is going to be my go-to way of adding on collars. I love that short row shaping down to the center front. It's a lovely design detail. And then the other thing I did was, those of you who steek garments will know that normally you'll steek a garment, which means you cut it to do other things with it, and put a braiding on the wrong side. But I've decided to do that on all cardigans because yarn, wool and gravity have a very tumultuous relationship. So if I didn't have this and I pulled my garment, I would be able to stretch it down really far. But the braiding is stopping it from getting those really daggy, ugly, pointy bits on the center front, which is also not a very appealing look. And then the other thing that the braiding helps with is if you put it across the back stitches. Now, even if you never do the cardigan because you think it might be too much work, as you wear a cardigan or a sweater, and I think most people will find this, it kind of stretches, and it starts to look like it's not a very good fit. If you want a wide neck, then just knit a wide neck, and it will be that. So then cast on stitches and design your garment so it has a wide neck, and then put the braiding in. But if this is supposed to be a neck that should fit, then I would recommend you invest in some braiding. I just sewed it on by hand, and I'm happy I did that, and I think it's going to keep its shape far better. I highly recommend this pattern. It was lovely to knit. It has been translated from another language, and I'm suspecting French, so some of the wording is a little bit different, but that's okay. It wasn't so bad that you couldn't figure out what to do. And then before I put this aside, so this is wool, 100% wool. And I really just wanted to say to all and sundry, wool pills. It's the nature of wool. Don't let it upset you. Just take the pilly bits off and turf them. It's not worth it to look for yarn that has been so chemically treated that it doesn't pill anymore, and then you need to ask yourself, is it wool? Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there because I'm a big supporter of wool. If you have, it's warm, it's waterproof, and all of those things that we know about, but even if you have plant fibers that have no memory at all and have lost the battle with gravity in most cases, if you just put a little bit of wool with them, even just 20% of wool with bamboo or cotton or hemp or linen, the fiber becomes majestic. So don't diss wool just because it pills. Pilling is easy. So that was the Albini Cardigan by Tet Besh. I highly recommend the pattern if you're looking for a cardigan. Then, if you remember correctly, I was knitting a jumper called the Sidewalk Cafe Sweater in Katia Funky. Now this is where the book comes into play, the one I read, the Unfuck yourself one, and the willing and the unwilling decisions that both have a positive end. Well, I just want to tell you that here it is. I was just unwilling to look like an overfed tropical rainforest frog. So I pulled it back, and it is no longer. So this yarn is going to go to somebody else who wants it, and I have put this to bed. I've pulled it back, happy with it, unwilling to finish it, and I'm happy. So I had one which I was willing to finish, unwilling to finish. Nobody wants to look like an overfed tropical rainforest frog. Then I did something completely unusual. I don't have the garment with me because I've already given it to who I knitted it for, but it was something very different for me to knit. Was this really chunky sweater, Goodnight Day, a knitting pattern by Tara Lynn Morrison. I knitted it for my son's girlfriend. It turned out really beautiful, and she looks delightful in it. I've already given it to her, but if you run along to my Instagram, I will post it there when I post this podcast. I knitted it. I wanted to knit it in the yarn that they recommend, which was Malabrigo Rasta, which is a really chunky yarn, but we couldn't get hold of any. And we had this yarn at work, and she really loved this color. And I will show you. This is the color we went with. I had to use 3 strands of it to get the tension. It's called Laja, a luxurious blend of baby alpaca, fine merino wool, and polyamide. It's got 43% alpaca. It's like a cloud. Even though I used 3 strands, it is a cloud. It knitted up really beautifully. I'm so happy I gave it a go. I've never knitted anything so chunky in my life. But, Lordy Lord, I had to use these broomsticks to knit it. This garment is knit from the top down. The sleeves are knitted from the top down as well. This was a workout. These were 15mm needles. Beautiful needles. Once the stitches were on the needle, it was fine. But to get the stitches from this wire back onto the needle and pushing them up, it was unpleasant. I'm not going to do this again. I've done it once, kind of been there, got the done that, got the t-shirt. I will lay it to rest. I'm seriously pleased I did it, just so that I know I've done it. It's done, and she looks adorable in it, and the yarn is beautiful. It's soft and light, even though I put 3 strands of yarn together. It was very, very light. Those are all the things that I finished. Those are all the knitting things that I finished. Then I went on a bit of a crochet. It was like a little journey, actually. I grew up in my house. My mum always crocheted pot holders, which we called in Namibia potlappies. We had potlappies and jammerlappies and vloerlappies. Lots and lots of lappies. And a lap is basically a cloth. And I had these 2 pot holders that I inherited from my mum via my great aunt in Germany, Tante Hilde. And they are adorable. They are adorable. I've never used them. I'm beginning to suspect that my son used them because there's a little yellow stain there. But you can see that the one is slightly bigger than the other, which I just love. And I try to figure out why. And you know what? Because it's the same amount of rows on both, everything. I think she did one of them first, and then there was a break, and then she did the other one, and she used a different crochet hook. So they are the same, but they were done with, I think, with a different crochet hook, particularly if I look at the denseness at the top over here. So sweet. I will never use them because they just have so much nostalgic value for me. But I did do an ode to her. So I got busy crocheting some other pot holders, and the reason I did the other pot holders was basically because I thought maybe I could get my son to use them. My son is a very, very good cook, borderline chef, and he has burnt every single one of my dishcloths. I don't have an unburnt dishcloth. So I thought he needs a pot holder. So I thought I would go about crocheting some pot holders for him. And I found a very old traditional pattern online that is so beautiful and so easy to do and has a lot of effect. It looks amazing. I bought some cotton yarn, which I think is a good wool to have in the kitchen because it washes so well. So I have Saubabal Crazy Cotton. It is 100% cotton, and its origins are in Greece. 100% baumwolle. It has 210 meters on the ball. It's a German product. And the name of the color that I used was Sommermärchen, which I think could be translated into fairy tale summer or summer fairy tale. I love the yarn. And here is the pot holder that I crocheted. And it's come up really nicely. This pattern has a double layer, so it's nice. It's just the right size, I believe. And as an ode to my auntie, which is what started it all off, I made two mismatched. The one is a bit smaller than the other one, and I did that for her. So I have these. Of course, I made another one as well. I just happened to have enough yarn. So this is supposed to be a pair, and I made another one as well. The pattern, I wrote up the pattern. It's an old traditional pattern, and you can see a lot of it on YouTube. But I wrote it up if you're interested, and I posted it to my Ravelry account as a free download. So if you want to go and have a go at those, I think they would make really beautiful. You don't have to use variegated yarn. I think if you just used white with a red stripe or grey, you could make them elegant if you wanted to as well. As a housewarming gift with a wooden spoon or some relishes or something like that, I think that it would make a beautiful, beautiful handmade gift. Okay, so that's the crochet. And then I thought if I do the podcast, I will do a book review. I've got so many favorite books that I thought I would introduce you to one of my most favorite books in the world. This book is called Hello, My Name is Amineko, The Story of a Crafty Crochet Cat by Nekoyama. Now this pattern for Amineko, there is actually a free pattern online for Amineko, but so here is Amineko. He's a cat with the most ridiculous attitude I've ever met in my life. I've made maybe 20. I just love him so much. The reason why I'm reviewing the book is because I don't think it's worth it just to go and get the free pattern offline. Just go online and get it for free. The way that this book has been written it's a very Japanese aesthetic, very kawaii. Just the way that the wording over here, we'll just start in the front here. If you see, Amineko is hard to wake up. Green tea helps, but your Amineko might be finicky and want juice instead. The whole book is like that. It is delightful on all levels. Curiosity killed the cat. What's this? Bonk. Ouch. It's a futon beater. Good thing I have 9 lives. So that's the little story that goes with this one. Anyway, I can't praise it high enough. It's just fun. If you want to, as a gift to somebody who crochets, I would pick this every time. The book, crochet hook, and some yarn to go with it. It's just, Amineko demonstrates. Seiza is a term for traditional sitting position in Japan. Perfect postures for Amineko. Chillin' on a bench. That's chillin' on a bench. This is confused kitty. Watching the bird feed a pretzel. Yes, well, I think I've said enough. There are also instructions how to make him a little bed. And the Amineko is Ami is crochet and Neko is cat. So if you know about amigurumi, which is crochet mascot, this is part of that Japanese mascot, doll mascot making. I'm not explaining myself very well, but buy it. If you can find this book, buy it. So say goodbye, Amineko. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. This little boy is called Levi because I used some denim jeans for him. Anyway, that's my book review for today. I adore the book. It makes me happy. And in that vein, because I adored the book so much, I thought to myself, he's got just the right body to make a whole lot of different little animals from him, right? So using very similar instructions and shapes as Amineko, I wrote a little tutorial and a pattern which is available on Ravelry for free. If you look further down on my YouTube channel, you'll see a tutorial on how to actually crochet amigurumi mascots. And these are 3. There's a cat, a fox, and unicorn. I think there's a dog and a raccoon. I don't know what other animals are in the pattern, but you can go and download it for free. I didn't feel that I could charge for it because the concept is very much based on Amineko. I do have a few little extras in the pattern, like the rucksack and the boots that you can all crochet separately. So that would be a little bit of fun if you really wanted to have fun with some of these. Goodness. I think that's it, except for one last thing that has absolutely nothing at all to do with knitting, but it is my current passion. And those of you who know me will know that I'm organizing a Gofundme campaign to feed the sand bushmen in northwestern Namibia who are in a dire need of food and feeding because of Corona. The Namibian tourism industry has collapsed completely, and the place that they live, which is a town called Tsumkwe in northeastern Namibia, has just gone from 100% to zero. So I've started a campaign, a GoFundMe campaign, which has kind of ground to a halt a little bit. I know that my goal is very, very high, but there are 50 families who are in dire need of help. I am working together with the Nainai Conservancy in Tsumkwe, so there is a big control. The gentleman who runs the Nainai Conservancy knows all the families in the area and knows which families are in dire need of help. So what I decided to do was, because I'm in a better position than they are, I've decided to sell DPN cozies and I've decided to sell them for $10, and I'm going to be giving all the money to the GoFundMe page. So basically I'll advertise the DPN cozies on my Instagram account, and you can go and have a look there and see if any of them appeal to you. You can just go and put $10 into the GoFundMe account. Let me know. I do get alerts all the time when people put money into the account, and I will post out a DPN cozy to you. Actually, it's better to call them needle cozies nowadays because they protect your needles, not only your double point needles. If you want to know how to use them, I have a YouTube clip further down, if you want to go down and have a look, the uses of a DPN cozy. I might also upload a new little tutorial on the uses of the DPN cozies or the needle cozies. I do have many different styles, which I love. Le Bulldog. And I've got some plain ones as well. I've got Star Wars, I've got Frida Kahlo, I've got some sexy girl ones on cars, lots of dogs, but I'll post them on my Instagram account. And if you would like a specific design, like I've got Harry Potter fabric, I've got other florals, I've got, goodness gracious me, I almost have my own little fabric store here in my little studio space. So if you wanted to have a particular design, you're more than welcome to DM me on my Instagram account, and I would love to help you. So that's it for this week. I hope you have a wonderful month. I try monthly, but not always. This upcoming month is going to be very busy for me because I'm going to do a lot of sewing. I've also started I almost forget. It's the Shetland Wool Week virtual show this week that kicked off on Saturday, that I'm going to be knitting the Fair Isle beanie from the pattern there. Go along and have a look there if you're at all into Fair Isle. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm busy knitting that, and I'll go and do progress shots on my Instagram account. And I think that's the end of my story for this month. Until the next time we meet, keep knitting, keep crocheting, stay safe. What were the other things I wanted to say? Keep on crafting. And, yep, bye.